Chair. And thank you, Mr. Secretary, for taking the time and for your willingness to come into the public sector. I'm not going to try and play gotcha. But it is an opportunity to spend a little bit of philosophical time. And I guess one question is, do you think our country spends too much on scientific research?
No.
Okay. And so, obviously, you know the NIH is the largest, in terms of biomedical research, there's the Howard Hughes Institute, but the
70% of the world.
Exactly, 70% of the world. And I guess when you look at the level of cuts that we're facing over there, and I'm recognize that a lot of these cuts are imposed upon you. So, but there's a gap in basic fundamental research that's going to have to be filled somehow. And have you got any ideas of how we can do that, given the scale, the dimension of the loss that we're facing?
Well, first of all, my job is to support the president on this and to support OMB. But, the reality is that, as I've said, no agency head wants to see cuts to his agency. And I love scientific research, so I want to do as much as possible. But I think because of we are very, very aggressively implementing AI, and I think we're going to do it faster and better than anybody else in government, any other agency. We brought very, very high quality caliber people from Silicon Valley.
And I get that, and that will accelerate and help us do more.
That's probably, we can shorten clinical trials. We can get rid of animal trials, which we're already doing.
I'm in support of all that. We talked about that for years.
And we can do, and we can now digitalize.
Research I'm talking about is not that so much as the fundamental scientific, basic science research.
Like bench science or epidemiological studies or whatever. And I think we can do a lot of that stuff quicker. I'll take as much money as you give me and I'll spend it well.
Well, I just want to make sure to urge you to be a fighter for more of that research, because there's a questioning of science right now within many in the White House, not everyone, but many in the White House. It really needs to be pushed back. And Senator Hawley, I'll sign on to that bill as well. Second question I've got, we have a lot of issues around wildfires in Colorado right now, and this is back to the NIOSH, the National Institute of Occupational Safety Health. That you mentioned that they kept them in Cleveland and I think somewhere in Pennsylvania. Pretty much everyone's laid off in Colorado.
In Morgantown, yeah.
Yeah, everyone's laid off in Colorado, and that the question really, and I think a couple have been ordered to be reinstated, but all the West is dealing with these, thousands, tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people out fighting fires. These are people risking their lives, walking away from their families every day. And the basic research that needs to be done, I don't think the replacements are going to be, in many cases, they're new onto the job. They're not going to be sufficient to address and really make sure the specific health needs of these workers, these outdoor workers, are addressed. So the question is, how can you make sure that folks in Colorado, like firefighters, are able to do their jobs safely?
I think a lot of the cuts that we're implementing now are painful cuts, and that they're cuts that are going to be difficult. But I think the president's position is that we're spending $2 trillion that we don't have, that we are taking from our children, and we've got to protect their rights to prosperity, to enrichment, to dignity, to choice. And so
I've heard that argument, and I appreciate it. And I'm a voice of frugality, at least in my office, and try to push it around the Senate where it's allowed. But we're looking at budgets that's going to increase the deficit by who knows how much, $4 to $5 trillion, to take things like this that we know are successful, and not just for Colorado, but for almost every Western state, essential. And you're saving such a small amount of money for something that's so important. I just hope that you can push back on that a little bit, and someone's got to take a stand for these things that are minor financial benefits, but significant losses to how we provide safety for workers and our citizens.
I'm happy to work with you on that, Senator.
Okay, great. I yield back to the chair.